Hey guys, today we are going to texture the World of Warcraft fanart chest that I made inspired by Warcraft new expansion and Earthen Dwarves town and design. Exploring it ornaments, unique architecture designs, and here we are. I'm going to skip the easiest part with 3D modeling and UVs, it's like 5 to 10% of overall work. Long story short, for the design I used references, bocals and overpaints. Same technique as I use it in my hand-painted diorama course. If you're interested in my courses, check out links in the description. This time we are using some new things like extruding additional small borders and using a bit beveled angles here and there. For ornament I prefer to not join it with the main mesh, for me it's easier to paint like that. All the chest is mirrored except front gold part with the gem and some details on the back. Well, let's start painting. And now we are in 3D code and I have prepared some colors that I picked from the reference images, because I want my fan art to be pretty same style and colors like those World of Warcraft Earthen Dwarves. Yeah, so. And now we are starting color blendings, adding the basic white info where the light hits our surfaces. Some will be lighter, some darker, because like upper ones gonna be like lighter and the lower ones darker. And my first stages I'm doing pretty raw just to get an idea and overall look of the asset, like where all the details gonna be, what's happening here and there, and get correct lights and overall things around to see how your asset gonna look, and later on I just gonna polish all those things more correctly. So yeah, for now we are blending the colors, and for blendings I just picking the color by pressing V and doing this a lot of times, just painting, pressing V, painting, pressing V, like lighter, darker, and blending those together. Not that much blending for this one, because we are targeting for a little bit other style. Yeah, but yeah, there's a little bit of those gradients from lighter to darker around, not like a flat colors. Yeah. And same we are doing for our metals. Here, yeah, if you press shift you can draw the straight lines, sometimes it helps. So yeah, basically we want to get all the light info at first, so that way we're going to see all the chest, how it looks, and it will be easier to work like that. And I'm picking the colors from those dots that I pre-picked before I started paintings and explored the colors from assets in game. This is gonna be our wood texture, and this is our gem. And sometimes I'm using the brush that paints by polish, you can find it in your brush strokes. Sometimes it's nice for just base colors and filling some places that not easy to paint. So adding a light info everywhere, a lighter on the upper parts, darker on lower parts, some transition on the angles. Now I'm adding a little bit of blendings with gradients, so it's not a flat color, but just a small transitions here and there with those blends. Who like as a flat color? I think no one, and those gradients always look super cool. And same for gold, like some lighter parts here and darker on the upper one. A bit of inside a white info. Later on we're going to paint some reflections here. And the next stage is Linearts. For Linearts we want to do the texture details, like those on the wood here. Then I want to do like all the scratches, metal dents, ornaments, some dark line details that can form some ornaments, and just everything that looks like a line art. And a little bit of this darker outlines. It's also going with the line arts. Here I'm using soft brush to do some splits between details, to set where those connects, and it's gonna be looking much better than just a flat colors. Yeah, so this where the details connect each other, we can do some transition and add a little bit of like softer lines. It's not like ambient, but yeah, those things. But maybe we can call it ambient too. And a little bit here. And that's why we are not using a mirror here on the middle part, because we want some unique details, yeah, that we can do on the middle and make some nice ornament. Yeah, adjusting it, make it more smoother on lower part, and hard transition with the hard brush in the middle. Now we are painting some scratches, just classic dents and scratches here and there, very randomly, without thinking, just where we feel it gonna look cool, but not too much. Just yeah, this should be there, but you don't want to focus anyone to see them like directly watching on those. A little bit of those transition lines where the ornament connect with those metals here. It's adding some nice depth and overall looks pretty cool. So I'm adding this almost everywhere where it's possible and looks pretty cool. Adding some darker line here to split my ornament. And then adjusting everything a little bit, making it smoother and looking more cooler, and decreasing opacity those things. And on one side I want a smooth transition, on other hard. It will give some nice results with the depth. Adding some scratches on the gold part, also just randomly. And now we are starting the highlights. The highlights is the lighter lines and shine of everything that we have here. I'm using hard brush for it. I'm mostly using just hard brush almost for everything, and sometimes soft brush for some transition things and ambience. And as you see, I'm painting not just the straight one color line, I have some opacity in it, and I'm working out with my pen pressure and making some parts more shiny and some not that shiny. And the longer lines you can draw, the cleaner all the highlights will be looking. So it's nice to be able to paint like very long shapes. And of course, working with your pen pressure is a must. And that way you can very easily and fast just adding all those highlights and line arts, and it's just easy game for you. And also where we have some angles or scratches, I'm trying to make it more shiny there. And just holding the shift we can draw the straight lines. Then I go for eraser, soft eraser, and adjusting a little bit our highlights. Not everything should be super shiny like over parts, and I also try to keep the lines pretty different. As you see, I'm adjusting it with soft brush. I don't want it to be just a straight line. Yeah, we're mixing those edges and making it look more interesting, not just straight lines like these ones. Yeah, we're going to adjust them later on. I'm also trying to paint highlights that way, that they're placed always on front surfaces that we can see in the camera view, yeah, like on the right camera angle. So they will be always on front and better seen. Like, yeah, for example, if you have variations where to paint it, like on upper surface or on the middle, I'm mostly going to paint it in the middle surface, so they always will be seen on the front view. Then adjusting everything with eraser tool. So not everything is the same opacity, not everything is just straight lines, yeah. Then adding some those lighter details on the wood too, and I want to have here some painted like bevel. It's gonna be looking more interesting than just a dark line between the planks to connect them. So a little bit of depth and some cool details. And for wood we want to have more like soft highlights, and they could be a bit more chaotic, not like straight ones. I'm just picking the color from upper one and using it here, but with the less opacity, because it's the lower part and it's darker than the upper one. And now it's time for the decals. I'm adding rust to the metals using the hard brush, just some nice color for rust and adding it around. And for gold I wanted to have some like uncolored version and some greenish thing here, like the corrosive effect. A little bit for the woods too, just random ones. And then adjusting it with the eraser tool. Not all of them should be very well seen. And this stage is very important. It's where we adding more depth and interesting details to our metals. I'm using some soft brush and adding some darker colors near the highlights on some corners, like to show that this metal isn't like super flat surface, have some distortions and details. Not like everywhere, but in most interesting parts. And same for the metal here too. This effect adding a lot to your model. It's a huge difference. So I'm very recommending to do something like that for your hand painted stuff if you're targeting like that kind of style. And now it's time for adding some reflections on your metals. I created a new layer here and it's a color dodge. I choose some a little bit like a light yellowish color and choose the soft brush and adding those like reflection highlights on the gold. Where I think it could reflect, and on lower darker sides I'm adding with more reddish color some reflections on it. That way this material will look more like gold, because the gold reflects a lot of light. And same for your steel or iron, yeah, like metals. They also are very reflective. And we are not touching the wood, and then I'm going to erase it a little bit, decrease the opacity. And I don't want it to be like super eye-catching, but it's there and it looks very cool, nice details, I like it a lot. Adding more painted ambience. Some highlights for the cloth material that we are missing. And it's done. And now the gem. Blending the colors here a little bit. Make it look like it has some kind of shine. And for gems I really like to add some reflective too, like on lower darker areas of it. And it reflects a little bit to the gold. And I want to change colors of the gold highlights a little bit. And now we are adding highlights for the gem. adjusting with the razor tool, and a little bit of ambience where the gem connects with the gold. And the last step is the gradients, so I'm just adding some lighter yellowish color for upper one and for lower the darker bluish color, and then setting on overlay, and we are done. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.